The training chamber reeked of ozone and fear. Behind reinforced energy barriers, a dozen predator cubs prowled restlessly, their scaled hides glinting under the sterile lights. Even at such a young age, each creature was a storm of teeth, claws, and primal fury. They were bred from the apex beasts of Zelthara, designed for combat, loyalty, and obedience. At least in theory. In practice, they had mauled 3 instructors, shredded countless training drones, and reduced one entire observation platform to scrap. No matter what method was applied, pheromone conditioning, electroleashes, sonic dominance frequencies, the cubs remained wild. Every attempt to tame them ended the same way: hissing, snapping, and unrelenting violence. Admiral Korvac stood in the control room, mandibles twitching with suppressed fury. His reputation was on the line. The Predator program was meant to supply the Dominion with elite war beasts. And so far, it was a humiliating disaster. "They respond to nothing," hissed the chief xenobiologist, a 4-eyed scholar named Relth. "They are untrainable. No Dominion species has the presence to command them." Korvac's gaze shifted to the far end of the chamber, where a single figure waited quietly. Unlike the others, this one did not wear shock armor or carry weapons. He had no armored carapace, no natural claws, no venom. His form was soft compared to the Dominion's hard-bodied species, his skin bare except for the simple uniform draped across it. The human. The Dominion had only recently made contact with Earth, and the species was still an enigma. They had no biological weapons grafted into their flesh, no natural fangs or spines, yet they carried themselves as if they had never once doubted their survival. Korvac did not understand them. He distrusted them. And yet, desperation made strange choices. "Release the human," the Admiral commanded. Relth's frills flared in alarm. "Admiral!" "He will be torn apart within seconds. These are Predator younglings, unbound by instinctive restraint. No unarmed being can step among them, and do it." The barriers lowered with a crackling hum. The cubs turned as one, their nostrils flaring at the scent of new prey. Muscles rippled beneath their scaled hides. Low growls filled the air, rising like thunder before a storm. The human stepped inside. He did not raise his hands in fear, nor did he crouch in a defensive stance. He simply walked, calm and unhurried, as though he had entered a room of restless dogs rather than death incarnate. His eyes swept over the cubs, steady, unflinching, almost measuring. The first cub lunged. Gasps erupted from the observation deck, claws clenching against railings, mandibles grinding in anticipation of blood. But instead of ripping into flesh, the cub froze mid-charge. Its ears flattened. Its tail tucked low. It whined, actually whined, and lowered itself to the ground. The second cub snarled, leaping from the side. The human turned his head sharply, meeting its eyes. Something passed between them, something primal, older than any Dominion technology. The cub halted in mid-swipe, paw hanging awkwardly in the air, then dropped to its haunches beside the first. Within moments, the impossible unfolded. One by one, the predator cubs circled the human. Not to attack. Not to test. They sat, perfectly still. Tails curled neatly around their bodies, jaws shut tight, eyes wide with a strange mixture of defiance and respect. The human stood in their midst like a quiet axis of gravity, and they revolved around him, not daring to disobey. The silence in the observation deck was deafening. Relth's 4 eyes blinked in disbelief. They obey him. How? The Admiral could not tear his gaze away. His mandibles clicked nervously, a sound no subordinate had ever heard from him. Explain this, human. The man shrugged, as though it were the simplest thing in the universe. They're not monsters, just young predators. You don't dominate them with pain or tech. You show them you're not prey. Reltih sputtered, his frills quivering with outrage. That is not science. That is absurd. But down in the chamber, the proofs sat quietly, their rows of jagged teeth hidden behind closed jaws, their restless energy calmed. The cubs gazed up at the human as though he were an alpha of their own kind. Korvac's mind reeled. Dominion species had spent centuries perfecting control systems for war beasts. Every method involved overwhelming force, technological leashes, or genetic tampering. Yet here stood a fragile mammal from a backwater world, doing with nothing what they could not achieve with everything. Something primal stirred within the Admiral, a creeping realization he dared not speak aloud. If humans could bend predators with a glance, what else could they bend? Down in the chamber, the human knelt and scratched the muzzle of the nearest cub. The beast rumbled in deep contentment, like thunder turned gentle. See? The man said softly. You just need to know how to speak their language. And for the first time in his long military career, Admiral Korvac felt the cold touch of fear. Not of the predators, but of the human standing among them.